and welcome back to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. Wake up to your unconditional love, to your inner freedom. I'd like to start with a little joke, if I may. I made my money the old-fashioned way. I was very nice to a wealthy relative right before he died. That was by Malcolm Forbes. First of all, I'd like to make a correction from our last show. I apologize to Sanjay Soni, who was our great guest on the last show, and will also be with his words of wisdom on a little segment on this show. At the end of the show, we posted his contact email, and it was incorrect. So here's the proper email: sanjaysoni58@gmail.com. Have you been practicing loving yourself unconditionally in every moment? We started to talk about having spiritual awareness with your wealth and resources, and I really want to get to the core of this issue for you. Everything I talk about is, of course, applied to and from myself, or I wouldn't be hosting and sitting in front of the camera. That is my commitment for being an example and mastering myself as an evolving human being. I feel it is so important to understand that spiritual means, I guess, well, we have our own interpretations of the meaning, but okay, I analyzed, dissected, and thought through this many, many times, and there is a long history of definitions of spiritual. In the dictionary, it is described as having a mind or emotions of a high and delicate, refined quality. I believe that people and information on this planet are evolving, especially this year. It can be explained in simple terms, though. So here goes. The intangible energy becomes the tangible, the divine connection. Okay, this may seem that it's not simple, but it will be simple. How do you think that we evolved into being the first humans on this planet anyway? Doesn't this seem like a miracle of nature or from God? Okay, getting back to spirituality. As Deepak Chopra has said, spirituality is self-awareness. With this being said, what is your self-awareness? There is a direct connection to money and how you apply your spiritual principles and thoughts towards it. From my experience, when I make a mistake or decisions with money, which I have done and it doesn't serve me, because I didn't listen to my intuitive thought, to my practical intuitive thoughts, my spiritual self. I've had 2 huge losses in my life, which included bankruptcy. I trusted someone else in both cases, and I was truly going against my deepest spiritual self because I didn't listen. Well, at that time, it was devastating to me. When you supersede or don't listen to your spiritual voice, self-awareness, in practical application, this consciousness is when things go awry. Listening to your clear and healthy consciousness and using a practical application is the way to success. For myself, I've worked very hard to sustain a healthy mindfulness with money, with everything in my life. When I was 13, I will never forget when I came home from school. My dad was sitting at the kitchen table, which he never did and wouldn't have done because he would be at work. I was very close to my dad. He sat there and he told me that he had just been laid off Boeing. He had been with Boeing as an engineer for 10 years. I internalized this on so many levels, and it's taken me a long time, very challenging experiences to release this around my consciousness. It is never too late to change your thinking and consciousness with money, with everything, never. So wake up with unconditional love and compassion. Money doesn't mean you lose compassion in any environment or obtaining wealth unless it's unethical and lacks integrity. We all need to take a look at the way we think and act with our money and wealth. Again, as I have said previously, money is energy, and how you think and feel about it will govern how much and how healthy your relationship is with it. Really is. One thing that is important, never take anything that doesn't belong to you. there's always consequences. I'm talking about the stamp off your boss's desk or somebody else's desk. It's the small stuff that you need to be mindful of to keep your karma clean. Do you have there's not enough or lack mentality in your thought patterns, in your actions? Did someone in your youth say to you, money doesn't grow on trees? You can change this by focusing on thinking your thoughts in the reverse, like, I have more than enough for my needs and desires. Write this down as many times as it takes so you can feel it. Have no doubt. About 98% of the population need to practice this. Change your thinking and you will change your life in every department of your life. Remember, first and foremost, importantly, is unconditional love. Love yourself unconditionally. I can't say this enough. And you can love others unconditionally. And that's how we truly share wealth. My third book that I'm in the progress of writing is about being too stubborn for your own good. So give yourself a break. Don't be so hard on yourself. Let go of old habits that are not working for you. It all starts with your precious mind, your precious brain power. We have Sanjay Soni back with us. Thank you, Sanjay, again for sharing your wisdom. So when did you, or do you feel satiated with the amount of money that you have made in your life?
Well, two things. One, it's how I look at money. So for me, money is just there. There's no, I don't see whether I'm satiated with it or not. I don't think about it like that. Down the road, I do plan to have my own private equity fund. Come from the investment management. And you said I was retired initially, and I want to correct that. I'm going to say I'm taking a prolonged sabbatical to really get to know what I want to do and those questions which you had stated I was asking myself to who I am and my purpose. Now that I have those answers, and it may seem to people, it's like, how can you have those answers? But I have it. I have peace so that I know what my purpose is and who am I. Now I can re-engage in that same world, but with much more enthusiasm and zest, because I'm not doing it just for the sake of making money, or just so that my parents can say, oh, my son is doing really well. But I'm doing it because it really makes sense to me. I can feel it.
Do you think that this is part of your purpose?
I don't know.
Your passion, your purpose?
See, purpose is something which is not, I don't want to think about my purpose. Purpose is something which, like for Mozart, it was for making music, Einstein to do research. We all have a purpose. Similarly, the only problem is that we get caught up in the conditioning of the society, which tells us what we need to do, and we suppress who we really are. So I'd rather say I'm just expressing myself. So the purpose and who I am is actually the same in one thing. If I express myself, that is my purpose, to be myself. So the issue with what I was trying to say is that the private equity fund is, I feel very strongly, after having worked for 20 years in corporations and money management firms and so on and so forth, is that we can create more wealth, organization can make more money if they followed certain spiritual guidelines and principles. For example, I found out that most of the time in corporation is spent by people indulging in politics, or to, pardon my language, cover your ass strategies, and not that much to productivity because of lack of trust, lack of faith, lack of confidence in each other, in the CEOs or the shareholders or the board of directors and so on and so forth. If we really had this confidence and trust as a family, the organizations can do really well. They can create wealth for the shareholders, for the employees, and so on and so forth, that wealth filters down to everyone.
So in your opinion, do you think that in your past experience, that it's a lack of spirituality?
It is, I will say, it's a lack of awareness. What people don't understand, and I will put in a plug for my favorite company here, Patagonia. Patagonia is run by the CEO who runs it on Buddhist principles. Steve Jobs was a Buddhist, and he claimed that some of the design issues came from him being a Buddhist. So think about it. If Steve Jobs, the biggest and the most successful company in the world, is claiming that Buddhist philosophy had something to do at least. So the issue is this idea, especially in the American culture, and more in Western as such, is this divide between professional and personal. They have a divide. This is my personal life, this is my professional life, this is my corporate life. Management, unless you are driven and you are ruthless and you are a go-getter and money is the only thing that matters to you, somehow you're doing something wrong. And I'm suggesting to you is our business schools and everyone are not, and now they've started teaching courses on ethics and to take care of the environmentally conscious courses and so on and so forth. But we still have a long way to go to really think of the cosmos as one single entity. And when we get that, we can create more wealth. But we cannot create that wealth when we think, if the more wealth is created, then let one country or a group of people control most of it.
No, it's maturity. It
is awareness.
Awareness, yeah. But maturity in their awareness.
Absolutely. What I feel is that most businessmen and most people are just overgrown kids. They just need faster and bigger toys. So the issue out here is that when we look at wealth creation, which comes from jobs and from companies, the people at the helm of these companies are just overgrown kids.
Welcome, Lee Glickstein. Thank you for being a wonderful guest, and thank you for being here. Well, I want to tell you about Lee, and on our show, I'd like to tell you a bit about Lee. Lee founded Speaking Circles International in 1989, a global authority on impact and authenticity in public speaking. He has innovated and trained a facilitation method for relational presence that has uplifted thousands of lives. His clients, such as Chevron Corporation, Pac Bell, AT&T, Kaiser Permanente, and Stanford University. And students range from top professional communicators and change agents. I love that, change agents. To non-speakers with severe stage fright, and that was me. Speaking Circles facilitators are certified and licensed annually by Speaking Circles International through training and continuing education to experience the power of relational presence. For yourself, for a licensed facilitator of Speaking Circles on this website, www.speakingcircles.com, Lee is an author of Be Heard Now, Tap Into Your Inner Speaker and Communicate with Ease by Broadway Books. Be Heard Now, How to Speak Naturally and Powerfully in Front of Any Audience. Guide to Authentic Connection, The Alchemy of Influence Through Relational Presence, The Auto-Relational Voice, Pleasure Path of Attunement, and the audio album that is his latest, Your $1 Million Voice, How to Achieve Phone Presence Mastery When Your Business is on the Line. Lee graduated from Brooklyn College with a BA in sociology in 1966. He was a social worker in New York City for 8 years before moving to California to follow his bliss. He performed stand-up comedy in San Francisco. I'd like to hear some of that tonight. Before becoming an innovator in the field of humor as healing in 1996. Lee was awarded the Athena Award of Excellence in Coaching and Mentoring. A lifetime of stage fright motivated him to develop his simple but elegant approach to break through an epidemic fear of being fully oneself in front of groups. This process of discovery led to him a thorough understanding of the principles of authentic leadership communication through the practice of relational presence. Lee lives in Marin County, California, and his hobby is constructing crossword puzzles for the New York Times. And I'd like to ask some poignant questions, if I may. Well, Lee, again, thank you for being here.
Wonderful to be here, Cheryl.
Now, since we're in the theme of spirituality and wealth, which covers a magnitude of subjects, I'm going to start asking questions. How were you taught to think about money and wealth from your parents and caregivers growing up?
Well, I come from a lower middle class family. My father was a letter carrier, and he supported the family on $5,000 a year, which in those days was also very little money.
Yeah, well.
We lived in a tenement in Brooklyn, and we didn't, he got his job in the Depression, so he just felt fortunate to have a job. And we didn't have money issues. We had enough. There was no field of anxiety around money. We didn't have much, but there seemed to be enough. So I grew up not thinking of money as a problem.
So you always felt like you had enough?
Just had enough. It wasn't, not too much, but enough. But then you ask about wealth, and wealth is a different story. I was thinking, what is wealth, since that's your theme? And I think I associate wealth with emotional abundance, with emotional safety. And on that score in my family, we had a poverty of emotional safety.
Yeah.
It was, not very kind, a lot of hiding. It was a dysfunctional family that...
like many
families,
most.
where there wasn't much support. And so I grew up not really having a sense, I'd say a poverty of wealth, and I did not know where my source of wealth was. I didn't tap into my wealth, my true sense of wealth, till many, 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 many years later.
I think that happens to a lot of people, majority of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when they aren't, well, like an example of Warren Buffett, it was, a lot of the money came from his family, but he certainly knew how to do it. But it's a different mentality.
Yeah.
So, great. Is there anything you'd like to add on that?
Well, not understanding where wealth came from. I didn't find it until I found my purpose.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, since you are following your passion and purpose in your life, where have you found your source of wealth?
Well, actually, I'll tell you, it was almost 50 years in this anxiety of, I'd call it deprivation of wealth consciousness, sense of anxiety. And
was that anxiety because you didn't feel like you had enough, or
well, the money? I had a job. Money was okay, but like I say, I had a deprivation of support,
of emotional support,
and spiritual support.
Yes.
And what happened was, thank God, something got my attention when I was almost 50 that I had to deal with. I was desperate. I had this awful stage fright.
Wow.
And it stopped me from having a good career. It stopped me from having social relationships. I was like deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
I went to Toastmasters, and I couldn't make it. It was just too anxiety-provoking. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah,
right. So what I wound up doing was actually creating a modality, creating a way to get over my stage fright. Just like a day at a time, I just experimented with groups and discovered that what I could do, what I needed to learn how to do, was to be in some sort of presence. See, I never knew about presence. So as I developed this sense of presence, because I created this modality where one person at a time, in speaking, as it became known later as speaking circles, would stand in front of the group for finite periods of time, 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 7 minutes, and not even have to speak.
Yes.
And I would ask the audience to just support them, whether they spoke or not, and to just be there naturally. They got the first instruction, the audience.
Well, so this really came from the deep level, from how you were raised, and this is from your core. This is from your heart.
Yeah. Well, I needed to discover my source of my true wealth. I didn't even know I had any, and it turns out to be presence. So I became a teacher and a learner of presence. And in doing the work, I discovered my source
That's
of inner wealth.
And that's your purpose and your passion?
Which is to really be eye to eye with other human beings and not be self-conscious.
Oh.
And to truly
Amen.
be present in any moment, to be in the adventure of life.
And you do that marvelously.
And I teach other,
I
hold a space for people
Yes.
to find the wealth of their self-expression. So I guess I'm saying my true wealth source is presence and freedom of self-expression.
Right, and that is beautiful. Thank you, thank you.
Oh, by the way, I had this idea as I was thinking about this, that finding the true wealth of freedom of expression and presence led me to have a career where I made a good living, so the money comes in because I found my true wealth. So the equation I have, I don't know if you've thought about this, is that wealth comes first and then the money shows up.
Well, that's how I have learned myself, is that when you're following your true passion and purpose, and so many people don't understand what their true purpose is, and I feel very blessed that I'm on this path too of helping people on this level to realize that if they know their purpose and passion, then wealth does follow it.
Yes.
I mean, I've read that so many times through Think and Grow Rich and all the books that I have read, and it's like until you really get it in your core, you don't really get it until you start practicing it. And when you start practicing it, it's like, oh my gosh, it's all unfolding. And I say divine order, but that's me.
I'll say that. I said divine intelligence as well.
Divine intelligence. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Wow, that's great.
Like who else but divine intelligence would give me this awful stage fright that allowed me to change my life, to work through it.
I mean, for myself, I had to work through doing what I'm doing right here, sitting, talking, knowing that could be possibly thousands of people watching. It's the confidence that you have inside of yourself for what my purpose is. And my purpose is to speak my word to help people get through this, to know that their wealth starts inside. It isn't just the money. Money is a tool. Money is freedom, but we need to have the freedom inside of ourselves first to really get it. Because I know wealthy people that are spiritually, well, I hate to use this word, but bankrupt. You know, and then they come and they crash and they realize, oh my God, what happened? I have all this money, but I don't have anything else. So I guess that's part of my purpose, is to help bridge that gap.
Oh, that's true wealth.
I love this. Thank you so much.
Thank
you,
my
gosh, thank you so much for being our guest tonight. I appreciate it we appreciate it so much. My goodness, I feel so wonderful, just the feeling I have just having your presence and that relational presence. And it really has helped me to get where I am too. Because I was scared to death. The first time I met, it was at a CEO space meeting, and I was just on the edge of learning how to be more confident with talking. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Cheryl. That was fun.
Well, my goodness, all this information and how important this is, and I'm sure that our audience can certainly learn and get some really wonderful tips. Thank you so much. Well, I have a tip today. And is if you shop online for products, which is really important, like your hair products, your computer supplies, vitamins, and the like, you can save up to 50%, even on with the shipping costs. I bought one beauty product a couple weeks ago online, and buying it from a retail store would have cost me $26. And for this one item, including tax, also the time and effort in going to the store. But buying through online, it was $9 plus $4 shipping. So I saved $13 right there. The savings vary, of course, on who, what, and where you are buying it. But this is great savings tip. This is just one. So just make sure that the transaction is encrypted from your computer to the company you are buying from. Thank you so much for joining us, and please love yourself unconditionally. Let go of fear and not having enough, and don't listen to negative people. I will leave you with this. You reach a point where you don't work for money, and that's by Walt Disney. And boy, did he have fun. Wealth, like happiness, is never attained when sought after directly. It comes as a byproduct of providing a useful service, and that was by Henry Ford. So think and be happy and eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the brain. So bye for now. Until next time, thanks for viewing.